Welcome everybody to Red Suit Interviews, and we are joined by the miraculous, the masterful Mr. Vaush. How are you today,
That's
sir?
it. Two M adjectives? I'm confident you could have hit me with more than that.
Well, I usually enter into this going the man, the myth, the legend. But I'm trying to go something a little bit different today. But anyway,
I am happy to be here for it. I am delighted to be speaking to you. I know I've made it difficult for you.
uh,
I've been pretty sparse lately,
no, that's
but I
fine.
did take time to listen to some of your previous videos, and I enjoyed them very much.
Oh, which ones do you look at?
Uh, the Destiny one and the YMS one primarily. Just one second. Huh?
Yes, right.
It is. I'll link you on Discord.
Okay. Um, yeah, well, they were fun ones, especially I remember the Destiny one. That was the first big one that I did on a live stream, but nonetheless. So, can you explain to everyone watching, for those who don't know, who are you and what do you do?
Yeah, I'd be delighted. So I'm a relatively new content creator, streamer mostly. It's mostly streaming, and essentially I got started at the beginning of the year on Twitch, moved to YouTube, and I do political content. I'm very left leaning, and I am of the opinion that there is a deficit in the left's broader capacity to deal with certain types of rhetoric. We're very good at our little video essays and our calm breakdowns of opponents' logic in our own spaces. But when it comes to just arguing with people live, I feel like we suffer at that. So I make my stream, I argue against videos and people, and I do so in the hopes that I can demonstrate proper rhetoric to the people who watch and make them better at expressing their views.
No, I understand very much where you're going with the lack of left wing, I guess, sort of invested, argumentative, sort of going into like what you call like the blood sport sort of thing, because that seems like that's been like very much dominated by sort of like right leaning people, except for like the odd like Destiny, who's been like the only leading left leaning person going into there. So it
Yeah,
seems
he
like
was. Oh, sorry.
no, yeah, go on. What were you gonna say? I was just leading that.
He was. Yeah, no. I mean, I got the only reason I was able to do any of this is because I got some level of notoriety on his stream before making a channel of my own. So he was, I think, very much the icebreaker in that respect. And I'm just trying to carry that forward into a more definitively leftist space to make it more popular, more valuable, more subversive.
No, yeah, and look, it's such enjoyable content, especially when you do the debates. It's amazing to watch just like how like far they can go sometimes. I love it personally. But how did you like how what was your first steps into streaming? And how did that all initially take off in a bit more specifically?
Well, I had been for the past 5 or 6 years. I had been occasionally appearing on Destiny's stream. I've been a fan of his for as long as he's been streaming, and because I've always been more left-leaning than him. One time, I bullied my way onto his Skype, and I spoke with him, and we did so a couple of times. Every once in a while from that point forward. And eventually, about 8 months ago, Hassan Piker of the Young Turks stumbled across one of those videos while looking up stuff about Destiny, and he was like, "Oh shit, this guy, me, is pretty cool. Let's have him on sometime." So I went on his stream and I spoke with him, and the sort of positive support that I got after that convo inspired me to actually go ahead and make a channel. And a month after that, I tried out streaming, and since then I've stuck with that because it's what I love most.
No, and it's quite amazing because it's a lot of videos, especially like it seems like the video essays, follow even like a similar. You had this great improvisational sort of strategy whenever you do these streams, because it just comes off like it's like this perfectly planned, like orchestrated sort of like it seems like you're almost off a script each time you do a video, and so like. Do you have so when you do prepare like a stream? Do you have like like how do you prepare for each stream? Do you just sort of go on? You're like, I got my point. I'm gonna go off on this, or do you have like a dot points, a script ready for each thing?
Very, very rarely do I do any preparation at all. My goal, the thing that I want to impose, is that right-wing arguments are so brain dead. I'm not being like hyperbolic here. They really are very stupid to the man, to the point. And the point that I want to get across is you don't even need to do research to beat these people. Now I do research off stream and that helps me, but in terms of the in the moment engagement. It takes, I think, very, very little understanding of these subjects to take apart their arguments. And I feel that by preparing for a stream, I am in a way stripping my rhetoric of that raw flair that comes about when you're just trying to deal with an argument right then as best as you can. So I want to come completely unprepared to show people how little it takes to pull apart these arguments.
No, I definitely understand that, and I think it's effective. But at the same time, too, do you think that the hyper aggressive nature of your sort of discussions or when you react to things, do you think that could possibly turn away more people than actually bring in?
I think it turns away left leaning people. And that's fine. If a person is leftist, if a person already cares about gay, trans rights, universal health care, anti capitalism, whatever, I don't care. I don't need to reach these people. They're done. They're on the good side of the fence. They can go find. We can curse here, right?
Yeah, we're going nuts. Yeah, it's fine.
Hey, they can go find fucking ContraPoints or Philosophy Tube or Sean and Jen or more orthodox left-leaning content creators who are more kind and sensitive than I am. That's totally fine. What I want to reach, who I want to get at, are the people leaning towards the center, or the people who are even right-leaning, who are completely unfamiliar with the idea that it is possible to be a leftist and be rough, be a leftist and be masculine, be a leftist and be aggressive. I want to show those people that it's possible to be us and not eschew the core characteristics that they like care about holding themselves.
No, I get what you mean, especially with that, and like because obviously with a lot of your streams, especially as well, uh, I've seen. I think the most recent ones, especially, seems like you're arguing more with your chat more than the actual video itself at times. Um,
Yeah, good. Whatever. Getting yelled at is how I got better at this. Getting yelled at is how they'll get better at this. If I see shit takes in my chat, I'll call them out harder than I call out any Nazi. If there are people following me, I want them to follow me for the right reasons, not because they agree with me, but because they identify with the process by which I make my arguments. Also, just really quickly, I'm seeing in chat apparently you're quiet and I'm loud.
okay, we'll change that now if you want.
Good.
Just bring him down, Jack. Yeah, his big booming voice is taking us. Yeah, okay. But going further even into sort of like how you talk and discuss certain ideas, often that's sort of personally that I've noticed. So when you hear something that someone's like factually said that's not true, it's you often like sort of say that person's lying, or for example, just sort of jump to these sort of assumed bad faith sort of positions on people. Do you think that could also have a negative impact, especially when you're trying to debate? Because I remember in the Blair White one, you told her that she was lying, and I think she was taking offense to that sort of thing. Because from her position, she didn't believe she was lying; she was just wrong. So
I don't know if she believed she was lying. I can't tell. I know that in the past I've made arguments in bad faith. I know what it feels like to be really emotionally invested in an argument, to not really know how to express it properly, but to care about it so deeply you can't accept the idea of being of acquiescing. I think there's a fine balance here. There is a benefit to being very patient and accepting and accommodating of people's viewpoints if you feel they're being dishonest, because it can kind of like reel people in with the sugar, before you smack them. But at the same time, in certain circles, I think that there's a tremendous value to strength, rather than just pure reason as an approach. For instance, if I'm arguing with a Nazi, like full blown Nazi, swastikas, blah blah, Jewish question, these people cannot be reasoned with. It's not possible. But what you can do is show other Nazis watching that they're weak. They're weak and stupid, and they look fools when they try to argue against my much better, much bigger brain points. Being nice to them accomplishes nothing. Being strong does more. And I feel like with the Blair White debate, if I could go back, I would have been a little bit calmer with that. Because I don't think that her audience is that far gone, generally speaking. But no, I agree. It's a hard balance to hit.
Because it's like, obviously, like when you're dealing, like, because when I watched the, what's it called? The Ralph Retort, and you're dealing,
Christ.
that was, And it puts Australians like myself to shame, especially 90% of the time whenever I hear Australian on live streams, they're often racist. But
Yeah.
it,
Listen, I've been down there. I've been to Sydney. It's a beautiful country, okay? In the right places. Ain't nothing wrong with that.
yeah, but I think what you touched on there, it's like trying to find that balance between sort of like when you just flat out like gun someone down versus trying to find that middle ground of like, are these people actually working in good faith or bad faith? Like it's really hard to tell sometimes.
I tend to default to the assumption that they're either acting in bad faith or they don't know they're acting in bad faith. I have yet to encounter a single reactionary or generally right leaning person who could survive having more than a few probing questions thrown their way before crumbling into either like ad homs or deliberately bad faith rhetorical tactics. Um, so yeah, I will admit I have a very low opinion of them, generally speaking. Um, I, maybe that'll come back to bite me in the ass in the future. But for right now, I feel like I'm seeing positive results. There are a lot of people who email me and they're like, "Hey, I was like a reactionary on the alt right for a while, and then I saw this, and I hated you at first, but then like slowly you kind of like moved me out of the pipeline." I get emails like that. They make me feel really good.
No, I bet that definitely would. That'd be, especially with your position trying to be a political commentator, trying to turn people to the other side. I think that would be very beneficial for yourself. And even because or even just pointing out just before where you say when you ask like the 2 to 3 questions and it sort of crumbles. Now, there's been a recent drama within the left wing communities, especially the
Yeah.
streamer communities, where certain accusations like that has been levied at particular left wing streamers about when you get too many questions down, it sort of starts to crumble. So, for example, with the Destiny Hassan sort of debacle there, do
I
you
am
feel?
very familiar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you feel that this is also a common problem around left wing communities, especially like the morally lucky perspective?
It is. It really is, and it frustrates me. Now, I should say, whatever criticisms I levy against the left in this respect, the left is 1,000 times better at this than the right. The right-leaning people I argue with will blatantly lie or deny factual information to my face, just directly. They'll like look at facts, and they'll look back at me, and they'll go, "No." Like that, I don't get that from the left, like ever. But there are people on the left, an unfortunate number of them, who don't really arrive at their conclusions in a way that's conducive towards good reasoning down the road. And that's important because that's weakness. And weakness hurts us both electorally and socially. I want us to be strong. I want us to have good arguments. That stuff really frustrates me. In regards to the Hassan Destiny morally lucky thing, I think that Hassan is a more cogent and reasonable political actor than the vast majority of people I have ever interacted with. However, in terms of raw ability to parse information and respond like with an analytical truth, I agree that sometimes I feel a little bit frustrated with his approach. I could concede that.
Yeah, and especially like the points that Destiny brought up, and now there's probably faults on both sides. Do you think? I'm not trying to like single out Hassan here, but do you think that? Well, obviously, it's going to be detrimental at a certain point, but do you think it's massively important to like make sure, especially when you're going after, or even like self-criticizing left-wing ideas or left-wing political candidates, that it's important, especially when you're a left-wing political commentator, to make sure you get everything like exactly right? Or does it sort of? Do you think it doesn't really matter as long as you're pushing the sort of quote unquote agenda?
I don't I don't know. Because right-leaning people are going to accuse you of lying, no matter what you do. If I, like, for instance, when I make claims in my stream, I usually only make claims that I know I can back up with data. So even if I don't have the data in front of me, I know for a fact, for example, certain things concerning like immigration numbers or immigrant crime statistics. Even if the numbers aren't in front of me, I know the answer, so I can work with that. And that's good. But recently, have you heard of a guy called Alt Hype, the alternative hypothesis?
Vaguely, I've probably heard him just from my recommended, but that's
He's a white supremacist who does like he's literally like 21st century scientific racism, skull shape measuring and shit.
yeah.
and he's pretty popular, which is unfortunate. Anyway, I incurred the ire of this person by being, I guess, not a Nazi, and he made a video on me, and it seems one of his greatest criticisms of me. Um, in that video was he said that I had like invoked epigenetics as an argument to genetic differences between like Western Africans and white people. And in that argument, he mistook epigenetics for environmentally influenced genetics. And he like crowed on for like 40 minutes about the difference of these two things. I haven't watched the whole thing. It's a 3 hour video he made. But he crowed on, not knowing that the two are wildly different things. So sometimes I feel like I don't know if truth is necessarily an effective tactic, but I value it anyway because even if it doesn't help us beat right-leaning people, it helps us parse out the good ideas amongst our own communities and arrive at better conclusions. Even if we beat right-leaning people by being like dishonest and bad faith, like if we won at the end of the road, we wouldn't really know what to believe anymore because we've kind of built our movement on premises that we can't back up empirically. I don't I don't want that. Like that's scary to me, you know?
Yeah, I get what you mean. So, leading into that, would you say sort of, I guess, the left, or even lefties, or liberals, whatever, sort of their main sort of weakness, I guess, is sort of this poor optics that it's sort of we like one's like the we don't well, left wing people generally don't unify of a common idea. Often at times it's either like, oh, I'm socialist, or I'm liberal, I can't interact with you, or I'm a tanky, or I'm this, or I'm that, I'm anarchist. Do you feel like that's probably one of the biggest weaknesses of left
Yeah,
wing leanings?
lefties are miserable at coalition building. I can give an example of this pretty easily. Recently, I think like a month ago, I made a tweet that was like a joke tweet where I make a joke about it wasn't like trans people weren't the butt of the punchline, but I like I'm describing it poorly. I made a tweet that could be described as transphobic. If you like read it uncharitably, I get it. Whatever. Everyone makes mistakes. But my content, like the actual content that I do, is like radically pro-trans. Like they're probably one of the most defended group of people on my stream. You know, and I advocate for their politics very heavily. Um, but in spite of that, afterwards, there was like a wave of people calling me transphobic. And a lot of those people had engaged with my content before, too. So, in a political space where it is possible to dedicate dozens or hundreds of hours of stream time vehemently defending a group, but then make a joke tweet that reads otherwise, that's enough to like get you canceled. This is indicative to me of a political space that is incapable of unification meaningfully. And that's really frustrating because right leaning people who disagree fundamentally about how the world works will still work together if it means owning the libs. Republicans will literally cohabitate with Nazis if it means they get common political goals pushed. It's so bad. I try and promote anti sectarianism. The only people I don't like cohabitate with usually are tankies because I don't even know if they share my values, honestly.
No, I don't know if tankies even share any values. But but from there, I think it's like I'm getting sort of just going into like an interesting sort of thing. If you could make sure that every conservative would like, if you could make them agree on one thing with you, or like stop doing one thing, or change something completely, what would that one thing be?
Fuck, that's difficult. Let me think. Like one process.
Yes, so it could be
Um,
that they agree with trans rights. It could be pro gay marriage consistently, not religious, or whatever. Just like something that they're just like always just like, yep, okay, that's a given.
I think it might be the human nature argument. Um, Most of the time, when I interact with reactionaries, Republicans, Nazis, whatever, anyone right of the spectrum, if you boil them, if you like drill them down hard enough, they'll eventually they'll let it slip. They have a very low opinion of human beings. They think that fundamentally human beings are angry, divisive, stupid, embittered, and uncooperative, weak people that need to be led by someone stronger. That's pretty much it. It's the root of their hierarchical thinking. I think that, and I'm not saying humans don't do those things, but all they think of it. They'll actively like ignore research indicating that humans have, since the beginning of anthropological research, engaged like we built civilizations. This wasn't all done through slavery. Um, if I could get them around on that to accept the idea that we shouldn't really like hierarchies aren't really how we should order society, like that's not the foundational level, I think I could get them at a lot of other points, you know?
No, I get what you mean, especially with that and try. Okay, that's an interesting sort of way that you sort of just like immediately. I think that's a really interesting point to go on. So, do you think if they don't default to that, that might actually impact a lot of their other arguments, especially?
Yeah, because at the end of the day, right leaning arguments are driven by a desire to create and perpetuate a hierarchy, and left leaning arguments are designed to destroy, or at least to make more just, that hierarchy. That explains every position on the spectrum: communism, anarchism, liberalism, conservatism, anarcho capitalism, tankies, everything. All of them get positioned along that axis. Do you want to ensure a hierarchy where the best rise to the top, or well, best. I mean, some people think whites are better, whatever. Or do you want to ensure a world where people are equal and have genuinely equal opportunity? That's like the big crux. And the people who believe in hierarchy, to a man, believe that a hierarchy is necessary for a stable society, because a society in which everyone is treated equally is an irrational one. It's a fucking clown house. They believe this very deeply. I think if I could get them on that, I never could, but if I could, you know, I I think it would be good.
No, definitely. I understand sort of that perspective in it. And I guess now I'm going to switch this around. So, what would you, if you could change every lefty liberal person to do the exact same thing, just all agree on like one thing, what would that be?
Political efficacy is sometimes as important, if not more important, than moral purity. Um, Sometimes it's very necessary to look across the aisle at people who share serious disagreements with you and recognize that you two should work together to a common goal. I'm willing to work with like capitalists if they're progressive, like people like Destiny who are capitalists but believe in trans rights or gay rights or whatever. Like I'm not going to shun these people. I'll work with them against the goals that we mutually share, in favor of like progressive policies and social norms. And when the time comes that we need to split, I'll split. But this whole like I will only cohabitate with people who share my exact set of political values with absolutely no differences whatsoever. This is like crazy toxic, and it will never work.
No, I think we were, like we sort of touched on that just before, but no, I think that's like a really important thing, especially for left wing, especially liberal communities to agree with, and that perspective. And from there, so what is your favorite debate to? What's your favorite topic to debate? Like, what's your favorite point to discuss? Your just like the one that you're like, yes, this is what I need. And on the other hand, what's the one that you're just like, I just no, I just can't do this. Like,
Trans rights, abortion, and veganism are super fucking boring, because usually they hinge upon it's either very simple definitional arguments, or it's really like esoteric philosophical stuff that you will never be able to convince another person of. Like with abortion concerning personhood, or with trans rights, like acknowledging the fact that sex and gender are different things. This is super fucking boring. It just goes on and on and on. In terms of arguments that I really enjoy, I love talking about race and culture. I could do it all fucking day. When people like start with the position America should be able to protect its culture, when what they're actually saying is white people should be able to like genocide and deport all the brown people. Getting because they all start with that. Every single one of them, all the Nazis, white nationalists, they all start with what's wrong with America getting to defend its culture? And then you get them out of like the 18 levels of weasel words that they're using there. And always the nugget at the center of that is we believe that we white people have the right to like obliterate brown people from this country by any means necessary to preserve culture, something which will by definition be altered anyway, because culture cannot be preserved by its definition. I love that process. I would run down that path any day of the week. That's like my local hiking trail. I will go. That's my fun one. I'll just go out there. I'll have a good ass time looking at the mushrooms. That's what I'm here for.
yeah, it's quite interesting because I remember I've had like similar discussions with people in that sort of front. Because often it seems like, especially with conservative thinking, is though once sort of like statistics don't sort of go on this, it immediately goes to like a culture thing. Do you think that's like what they fundamentally believe, or do you think it's sort of just like just a oh crap, got to backpedal on something?
Oh, well, that's the thing. They don't have any beliefs. They don't actually care about anything. What they really feel is fear. They feel fear and anxiety. Their way of life is being taken away from them. They're scared of like Tyrone because they hear that black people have bigger penises. And one time they like stole Daddy's VHS tape, and the guy had a really big black penis, and he was scared because his first girlfriend didn't seem that impressed by his. I'm. This sounds facetious, but really, this kind of juvenile fear is the heart of a lot of. This is why back in the post Civil War America, when the KKK was doing their lynchings and what have you across the South, very often the genitalia of lynched black men were cut off prior to their death and put in their mouth. The emasculization or the emasculinization was part of the point. Because they were afraid of it, and they're still afraid of it. So they'll start off with arguments that they can defend in polite company. Oh, we just care about our culture, don't you think? You're left, don't you think? You want to preserve black culture, don't you? Why can't we preserve our culture? And you peel them away from that, and eventually you get to them talking about how culture and race are intrinsically tied, but that's super easy to peel away from too. And at the end of the day, it's just fear. It's just dumb animalistic fear that they justify with any arguments they've picked up off of Stormfront or Poll or Reddit or wherever the fuck they heard that from. But that's all it is, and it will never, ever, ever stop being fun for me to take that apart.
No, that's an interesting. No, it's. I didn't expect you to like go down that path because for me that's like one of the harder things to argue because it's so feelings based. I guess like
Yeah.
it's a really really hard thing to argue. Um, and I guess there's also been recently. I guess I'm gonna always vert back because it's current politics or trending topics or whatever. Recent podcast thing, Destiny. If you haven't heard him mention him before, he recently made point of that online politics has sort of just drifted so far from reality. Do you think that this is? Do you think this is a current issue, especially with like online politics, or do you think it's sort of just not a sort of true claim in that sort of regard?
Not really. I think Destiny is being idiotic in this respect, and it really belies his broader historical understanding of these issues. Like online discourse may seem hyperbolic, but that's because politics is driven by the hyperbolic. If you live in any age, whether that be 20 or 30 years ago with the gay rights movements, or past that with Stonewall, or beyond that with the civil rights era and the Black Panther Party and women's liberation, or beyond that with the suffrage movement, at all points in history, political movement has been driven by the ideologues, by the radicals, by those who live and breathe their political motivations, who wake up and go to sleep thinking about the day to come and the next day, what they can do to advance their goal. The vast majority of people, the vast majority of Americans at least, don't live their life like this. So if you just take a look at broader numbers, like, oh, here's a Gallup poll on electoral interest in this or this and this, things tend to seem pretty tepid. But the reason why that is because there's a very deliberate, broader neoliberal effort to keep the public, pardon me for sounding conspiratorial, but I could back any of this up, sedated when it comes to the severity of certain issues. It's the reason why we're on the cusp of this planet literally being made inhospitable to human beings, to human life. And for some reason, we aren't seeing like like oil company offices firebombed. Like 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 that's I'm sorry, I'm very anti-political violence, of course, but that would be a very, like, imagine reading in the history books and an elite group of oligarchs through lobbying pushed a set of political policies deliberately inclined to ensure profits in spite of the fact that their companies were destroying the planet, potentially causing the deaths of billions in the future. In response, their offices were firebombed. Like, that wouldn't even seem out of the ordinary. That'd be like, obviously, of course their offices were firebombed. But hopefully that never happens because political violence is bad. But hyperbolism is what drives politics. The extremists move the Overton window. The extremists are the people who drive the discourse. And for the past 20 years, it has only been right leaning extremists who have had the impetus to go forward and move that Overton window. Just 8 years ago or so, the Tea Party split off from the Republican Party and started driving their politics rightward. And what did the Republicans do? Like intelligent political agents, they acquiesced and they allowed themselves to be pulled further right. The Republican Party isn't on the cusp of collapse. They don't have a break over their principles because they have no principles, except for whatever populist movement they can capitulate on or capitalize on to drive their profit motives. Democrats don't do this. When radicals speak up in the Democrat Party, the Democrats silence them and encourage moderation and compromise. And these things, the same things Destiny call political expediency, drive the death of politics. When one side plays a game that wins and that you aren't willing to play, there's nothing dishonorable about being an extremist. It's a natural part of ensuring political movement forward. Civil rights activists were extremists. The American revolutionaries were extremists. I'm proud to call myself an extremist because I think extremism is how you get things done.
No, I understand. There's obviously that's true with the extremism is definitely how we bring people to whichever side on both sides. If everyone's a Nazi, people can become more Nazi, whatever. But even with sort of points even what Destiny brought up with something with bills and policies trying to put through the Green New Deal, do you think that did more harm to sort of further policy on environmental things in the future, or do you think that sort of just was a beneficial first step?
I think it did more harm, but only because the Democratic Party fucked up and capitalized on it. The Green New Deal is essentially a set of policy positions that are supposed to commit America to making substantial changes to their environmental policy. It's not like a specific set of policies. It's we commit to meet these goals at this time. And that's good and fine. And then, of course, the Republican Party starts making their dumbass boomer Facebook memes about how AOC wants to ban air travel and cow farts. And instead of supporting them, instead of going out there and forming an intelligence campaign the way the Republicans do, the way the Koch brothers and other forms of dark, billionaire money funnel through right-wing interest groups to propagate a certain message, instead of doing that, which wins elections, the Democrats came down on fucking the AOC and the policies. So, and the reason for that is because Democrats don't want to fix this any more than Republicans do. They're controlled opposition. So I don't think the Green New Deal was a bad idea. The problem is that the Democrats are not. The Democrats are a cage designed to appeal to the interests of non-lunatics and pull them right. Republicans are the beast moving towards annihilation, and Democrats are the cage trailing behind them, impotently pulling at the chain. The only solution really is to recognize that the better elements of the Democrat Party need to be split off, and the whole system needs to be tanked from the left. We need genuine left-leaning radicals who gain massive populist support. Bernie Sanders does this to a pretty great extent, and present an alternative to the current dichotomy, which leads inexorably towards doom, whether you're Republican or Democrat.
So do you think a third party, especially, would that be beneficial, or do you think that would just be a waste of time?
I don't know if America is going to survive long enough for a third party to catch up, to be perfectly honest. And not to sound defeatist here, but we're on the cusp of a pretty substantial series of events that we are going to live to see, you and I. I mean, climate change is going to happen. We are not going to be able to stop it. There's no way. And we are going to see rising coastal floods lead to the migration of tens or hundreds of millions of people moving inland to try and find life. This will cause economic havoc. Industries will be disrupted. The economy will collapse. These are very realistic expectations for the future, and I don't know if the American political sphere can survive that kind of outside tension.
No, I think that's I guess it is. It's worrying to think in that perspective. So, do you think open borders would be a beneficial thing to put in place, especially for these sort of the mass migration?
Immediately, no. If for no reason other than pragmatism. It's a long-term goal. I mean, I'm very pro-open borders. In terms of seeding the policy necessary, I don't think open borders can ever function properly within capitalism. If I want open borders, I want it so there's a fair and free exchange of resources within a given area to ensure a roughly like equal level of livability for all the people there. Not everyone has to be like perfectly like we can be realistic about this, but right now if we open borders within 15, 20, 30 years, we would see a flood of migration the world has never seen before. As global warming drives the tides forward. And I think that would cause social tension within our country. That would uh, that would probably prompt a much worse resurgence of white nationalism. I'm not sure what to do, to be honest. I feel like we're coming up against a cataclysm like unrivaled since the Great Plague or the Second World War, um, which is a little bit frustrating that I happen to be born at this time. But um, my goal, I guess, is to just ensure that as many citizens as possible like pull in the right direction when that time comes.
Mm. Well, like there are possibilities for us, like safety. Like we can take the Futurama approach, drop a huge ice cube in the ocean every whatever years. I think that's a good start. Um, or we just
Yeah,
we leave the windows open when we put on the air conditioning. I think that's another good start.
yeah.
I think if
No,
everyone just does that,
paper straws. You know how it is.
yeah. I think if that's honestly, or just throw your ice cubes out into the river each day, and we'll get that temperature down. Don't worry, guys.
I don't mean to be pessimistic. Humanity has weathered some pretty miserable times in history, and there have probably been literally billions of humans and beings who have died thinking, this is it. This is the end. At the Crusades, the fall of the Western Roman Empire, the Mongol hordes across West Asia, like at all of points in history, for the people who suffered these cataclysms, they must have thought like, well, okay, we did our best. Fuck. I think we're here now too. A great many people will die, but we move forward inexorably. And I think that's what we're at right now. Just another bottleneck, another critical point in history that historians will look back on and think, man, it must have sucked to live at that point in time.
Hmm. But as white men in wealthy countries, I think we'll survive.
Oh yeah. Oh, of course. We're going to be doing the best of any group. Well, unquestionably, yes, no, without a doubt. I'll probably die comfortably. I hope so.
Well, like,
but
I live in Australia. Like, it's gonna be hot. Like, my face is already red enough. All right. I don't want to have to stay inside all the time. But I'll have to make do with my air conditioning.
I mean, you can tell. Listen, here's my plan, okay? As you can see, I'm very pale. If I go outside more often, my skin will reflect sun rays back out through the ozone layer, and I will do my part to diffuse the general warming of the climate.
This is where gamers rise up. We just get all the gamers out.
Outside. We need outside LAN tournaments. I think this would substantial contribution to the solution.
Gamers rise up. If the gamers do this, will we just give them a pass on all the other dumb takes they do?
I don't know. I don't know if there's any way to wipe that sin clean, to be perfectly honest. I think they're going to die with that in their hearts.
Shit. Okay. You heard it first, gamers.
I'm sorry, gamers. I love you. I was playing games before this, okay? I sympathize, but I could never be one of you.
Okay.
I don't hate women.
Then what are you? Are you even really a man?
I know. I'm like a stateless person. I'm like a refugee, okay? I've got nowhere to go. The online leftist community won't take me. I fucking hate Nazis. The gamers won't have me. I don't know. What are you gonna do?
I don't know. Try and make a home out of your own. Just let it follow you. But
I'm moving in a few days, actually. So we're actually doing that.
Still in LA?
Actually north, still in Humboldt. We're going to be moving up to the Seattle area soon.
Oh, okay. I just assumed California is just LA. That's just.
Oh, I was actually in LA before I moved here, so you got that off.
Okay, sweet.
It is
all right.
like half of California's population.
Australian ignorance paid off, but nonetheless. Do you think? Similar question before. If you could scrap either a video series or a internet personality, political commentator, just Thanos snap them, that they just disappear.
I already have the answer.
Who would that be?
Steven Crowder.
Yeah,
Easily, not even a fucking question. The easiest question I've ever had in my life. I could go back there. This would be up there with the kindergarten, like, and mimic the cursive letters. Steven Crowder is probably one of the most destructive internet personalities. No, Steven Crowder is the singular most destructive internet personality to have ever existed since the internet's formation. He's massive. He's popular. He has connections with real political figures. He's funded by like a network of like billionaires that are perpetuating his shit content. And everything that he does is just it is on the absolute cusp. Like he's just below asking people why people named Goldstein and Leibowitz tend to control banks. I'm not saying he's a Nazi. He has no principles whatsoever, but his content is openly white supremacist. And if you take a look at the kind of jokes that he employs in his content, which reaches millions of people, they're very deliberately designed to extinguish sympathy for marginalized people. I don't know if you saw it, but in one of his videos, he did a little skit. You're aware, I assume, of the concentration camps in the southern border
Yep.
of the United States. He did a skit where one of his, I don't know if he's like Latin or whatever, but one of his brown coworkers dressed up in like baby's clothes and a big rainbow lollipop and was in a cage and they filmed him and he was like where and me mommy me abby I want me burrito or something like that, and then the end of the audio gets cut off by Crowder like maniacally laughing over it, and then they continue with their skit. The goal of his channel, beyond all else, is to make one callous, to obliterate one's care for these people. I think he's an unquestionably a overwhelmingly evil human being.
No, I think one of my favorite videos from him is he went to Guantanamo Bay and said it wasn't that bad, guys, because they have some stores there and stuff like that. That's a
He will say literally anything. Literally anything that furthers the agenda of the people that pay him.
no. That reminded me very much of like when people go to North Korea and say, "Oh, it's not that bad, guys." And I'm pretty sure I've seen him criticize those kinds of people, and then
Have
to
you
the
have you
exact
interviewed Jason Unruh on your channel?
no, no idea. I don't know who that is.
He's a tanky who unironically believes that, who like defends North Korea and shit.
Fair enough.
They're not, to be fair, they're not as common as conservatives like making light of the concentration camps. But yeah, and again, it's just about building callousness towards. It's the same reason why tankies will make jokes like the kulaks deserved it. You mitigate the emotional sort of the sympathizing with the victims of a genocide if you make them out to be a joke. The difference being, of course, that happened 80 years ago. The concentration camps at the border are happening now, and I've never seen a tanky do a video where a kulak was inside of a cage screaming for grain before dying of starvation with their little baby rib cage poking out. So I don't know, pretty morbid.
Yeah, more or less. And now I'll flip it again. If you could, I know it's counter to what we're trying to push here.
Nah, hit me up.
Which left-wing person, liberal person, or video series or something like that would you scrap just because it's just terrible?
Easy. Destiny. No, I'm fucking with you. No, I like that. He's got good. He does about. Fuck me. Okay, let me think. Who's a lefty who I think like.
Look, I think I know
hurts us?
one video series, but I'm gonna let you figure it out. That you probably
Okay,
won't.
all right. I don't. I try so hard to rid my mind of anti-sectarianism. I've like deleted this from my brain. Hold on. Just give me like 10 seconds. Okay, who do I really fucking hate? Thinking. I've had some issues with Peter Coffin, but he does really good work. That's
It
not
could-
like nearly.
I'll make it
cancel-worthy.
easier for you. It could just be
Yeah.
a video series from a community. You don't have to get rid of the creator itself, or the channel or whatever. Just a particular video series, even in it. Could be either.
I think the closest thing that I could do to this, I don't think there are any explicitly political commentators that I would want to cancel. On the left, I think they're all valuable. The only people on the left who I would unironically want gone would be people who exist essentially to reinforce the shrill, whiny, emotional, hysterical, like irrational behavior that gets painted on us by right-leaning people. And if I had to just throw one out there, I think I would go with Lily Orchard. Lily Orchard. This is like, again, like a billion times better than like what you see on the right. But Lily Orchard's like a content creator who writes like pretty SJW scripts on YouTube, and I've seen a lot of people like making fun of her in right-leaning circles, and I feel like she reinforces some of those negative attitudes. People like that, I think we need to scour weakness from our ranks. That sounds very totalitarian, but I mean it. I mean, like, size these people the fuck up. Ask yourself, do you really want like whiny 17-year-olds like representing a political movement that's essential to saving the human race, and then get them out, or replace them with someone better, or I don't know, hit them against a door frame until they fix whatever's wrong inside of their heads. I don't know.
No.
That's
No.
the best I can do.
Well,
wait, who did you have? Like in
I
your
was
head?
thought you were gonna go for the Cross the Aisle Vice series.
Ah!
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Can I change my answer?
If you want to, yeah. Because that's
The
what.
Across the Aisle Vice series, okay? Those are fucking trash.
Would if you were asked to go on that, would you?
Oh yeah, everything I say would get like cut out of the final VOD.
That's what I'm saying. It's like, do you feel like you would be like represented well in it? So would you go on it? So.
I've had, I think, the closest you can get to media training without having actually taken media training. I feel like if I went on there, even if most of what I said got cut out, I don't think I could give them anything that looked bad. If anything, I would try to like make the conservatives like cry off camera, so they look like dipshits when they like the footage that they select is actually rolling. That'd be pretty fucking funny. If I got brought in for like the LGBTQ thing and like all the dipshit like, I don't identify as LGBT, I'm just gay and I'm an American and that's all. Like if I could like really fucking drill these people like fucking when they're in like the break scenes, so they're like off kilt when the camera's rolling, I think that'd be the closest thing I could get to praxis there. Fuck me. Nah, they'd edit out everything that I say.
No. Well, we just got to get like YouTube political commentator Vice thing now. Can they ever agree? And then just have you thrown on there.
Be better than what they do now in the fucking fight. They bring on people and they're like, yes, this person's a Republican. When what they actually are is like a dark money backed Republican candidate, who does online politics and has media training and has spent their entire life formulating bad faith arguments to make lefties look stupid. Yes, but here he is, a Republican. Nah, fuck that. Absolutely not.
Wouldn't you argue that's every Republican?
Bring me on. Call me a gay man. Give me no other information. Hello, here's Ian, a gay man. I'll step on up there. They'll be like, easy target. And then I bring out my Nerf blasters.
That'd actually be fun. You just like you take down someone, you just pull out a Nerf blaster and shut down son.
Oh, I'm packing at all times for if the FBI ever comes take me down to COINTELPRO raids, I know I'm not going without a fight. I've got Nerf guns hidden in every corner of this house. In the microwave.
I've actually got a Nerf gun right there, right in front of me. So.
Wait, really? Sick. Hell yeah.
Yeah, I've actually got a couple. They're old though, but they're pretty fun. But nonetheless, I'll be ready. I'll be ready when the Australian socialist fascist government comes to kick my door in.
Good. Be ready. Well, fuck it. Well, Republicans for decades have been like, if the Democrats ever send people to take my guns, I'll gun them down the porch. We've been saying that shit for decades, but people get nervous when lefties say essentially this. Fuck it. Get them out of here. Get them out of here.
No. Well, I think I've just realized another point. I think if you actually went on that Vice interview, I think majority of the time, the majority of the arguments would, because if it was like YouTube or like online political commentators, the arguments would actually just be happening between the left-wing people. It would be like you, Hassan, Destiny, just there, just arguing between just the most like pointless shit. The Republicans just sort of sit there, just going like, yeah, we're the smart ones here,
When at the last Vice argument thing that I listened to with the LGBT shit, there was a point where there was a Republican black man and a leftist non-binary black person. And they were arguing, and the Republican was like, "Hey, Donald Trump isn't racist," and then they got into it, right? And the Republican was obviously being a fucking dipshit, like of course, like obviously, like I don't even need to say that. But at one point, there was another guy there, a trans guy, a white trans guy, and the interviewer like asked the white trans guy, "What do you have to say about this?" And he answered with something like, "I don't believe it's my place to step in and speak over black people when it comes to race issues," or something like that. I wanted to fucking kill myself.
Is this the guy who brought the Donald Trump article?
Yes. The article from the 80s. Like here's the 5 kids Donald Trump wanted killed even after they were proven innocent. Nowhere in this article does he actually call them the N-word. You'll see, so he can't be racist. And now I want to fuck.
That was.
I'll talk. Oh, sorry.
Look, as much as we want to call that stupid, like that man was a big brain play because he knew it was gonna come to that point eventually. He
No.
goddamn knew.
Yeah, he prepared, and nobody, and he went to a level of like audacious stupidity no one was prepared to deal with there. No one was ready for like the crumpled, yellowed news article folded into the suit pocket. No one was ready for that. That's crazy.
It was a great reaction though with the you really brought that in. You really was one of the guys who said that. I can't remember.
Yeah. No, it was I think it was the lady with the big hair, and she was like, "You really brought them, didn't you?" or something like that. It was really fucking funny.
Oh,
God, I really wish that fucking white guy hadn't been like, "It's not my place," though. It really bothers me when leftists do that. Like, if a I've talked to trans Nazis. I'll talk down on anyone. The ideas are bad. They deserve to be talked down to. I don't give a fuck if they're trans or black or whatever.
no,
Um,
no, that's fair enough. So is that another weakness, do you think, inside the left wing political sphere? Is
Yeah,
that
I've seen a lot of people who like hear dumb fuck arguments from trans people or from black people or from gay people or from like immigrants or whatever, and they're really dumb. Sometimes they're even like more problematic than the arguments typically directed against them. But the like this is tends to be more of a liberal thing. They'll just fold their hands together and go, I don't think it's my place to speak in this. Fuck that. These are the same people who are saying you can't call yourself a feminist if you're a man. Feminism is an idea. Anyone can have an idea. It's not a fucking census fill out. I'm a feminist. Trans people can be stupid sometimes. God bless America. Okay? That's the kind of leftist unity I'm here for.
no? I get that. Oh, that's a hard thing, especially in discussions. And I guess
I really don't give a fuck. It's been burnt off my brain. I do not give a single shit. I'll call black people Uncle Toms if they're acting like Uncle Toms. I'll call trans people self-hating. I really don't give a fuck. These people are subhuman in my eyes. It's disgusting to me when they try to leverage their like status as a member of a victimized identity to shit on that victimized identity. These people are lower than dirt to me. I have no respect for them.
fair enough. I guess we'll slightly touch off the political stuff. But I'm really slightly touch off it. But I'm really interested as like because you're a rapidly growing YouTuber. Like you started like only like 6 months ago. Whatever you're right with that, or
Thereabouts, yeah, 6 or 7.
yeah, 6 or 7, and like you've grown like really quickly. So do you have this? Do you worry about how sort of I guess your offline and online life will intercept at some point, or does it already have?
It already has to a large extent. Like I've already gotten death and rape threats and doxing and stuff, so I've already gotten familiar with that end of things. I got that even before YouTubing, I guess, because I've always been pretty loud online. But in terms of the integration of my online and IRL stuff, I had my first fan meetup in LA about 2 weeks ago, and it was brilliant. I loved it. It was amazing seeing people in person who like called me by my fucking online handle, you know? I like it. This sounds LARPy, but I like realized, or maybe not realized, that sounds pretentious. I decided years ago that like there's a very decent likelihood of me dying in a political conflict because of some big like economic or political upsurge that happens in this country as a result of like economic crash or global warming or what have you. Like I feel ethically obligated to participate, you know. So I accepted that idea. It sounds LARPy, but people like these things happen, you know. So I came like to accept that. So now like the integration of like an online debate dude with my real life, like this feels very like tepid in comparison, you know? This is like, okay, I might get death threats or whatever. Maybe I'll have a couple like scary interactions IRL, but like it could be a lot worse, you know? I'm very privileged to think that like I'm very privileged to be in a position where the worst way in which politics could interact with my life is like feeling uncomfortable sometimes like at the emails that I get. That's pretty cool. A lot of people don't get that privilege.
No, I get what you mean. I definitely do. I think that's sort of like an interesting thing, and I guess you have this now responsibility as a public figure now, and I guess what would for you yourself be like the most important thing as being a public figure?
It sounds cliche. I just think setting a good example, or I think being cognizant of the consequences of your public outreach. There, like I try very hard to cultivate attitudes that I think are virtuous in my so being like introspective, being thoughtful, being kind. Believe it or not, like when I argue with Nazis or with my chat, if there's a disagreement, I go hard, absolutely. But my general level of engagement with people is actually, I think, like a pretty like constant stream of affection and empathy, because that's where my politics align with. They don't come from empathy, but they align with it. So I want to impose that on people. I want to make people strong and confident, and I want to make people happy. I can't do these things like perfectly, but I can try. And I definitely never, ever, ever want to see something bad happen on account of like a stochastically stupid idea I perpetuated. I never want to see like something in the news and then someone like used language that I'm like, oh shit, did they get that from me? I never want to see online drama of people like having their lives ruined because they took what I said too far. I care a lot about that. I try to be responsible with my messaging. A lot of my incel videos, I think I try to be very careful when I talked about that issue to not impart any advice that I thought would like belie negative consequences IRL.
Yeah, no, I get exactly what you're trying to say. Like for me, like especially like doing this like interviewee stuff, like one of the worries for me is like doing like a Dave Rubin where it's just very much a I agree.
Yeah. With anyone who comes on, but I think I challenge people who come on pretty hard, so not much risk of that.
No, yeah, because I don't have a discussion where I go. So is there a connection between race and IQ? Yes, undoubtedly, genetically correct. Yes. Oh wow, didn't know that.
Damn, wish we would have filtered that. Nah, I've gotten bamboozled in the past before though, with that.
No, and I guess so. We have a couple of questions left, but I want to
Hit me up.
just ask, what would be your favorite? So, what if you could get everyone to sort of which political sources or commentators would you suggest for people to watch? For whatever reason, by the way, it could be someone who's on like the opposite side that you think's like this is important to like understand arguments or whatever. Like,
Yeah, in terms of doing like really good like bit by bit arguments, were like the kind of rhetoric that I do. To my knowledge, there are only three people who do it, or at least three prominent people who do it, and that's Destiny first, myself, and then Pig Puncher. I know also has a quickly growing channel who does stuff like this. I think that this is incredibly valuable in the process of pulling people left, because right now, if you're just like a edgy, apolitical 15-year-old who doesn't have much skin in the game, your exposure to leftism online is probably going to be a lot more unappealing than your exposure to right-leaning politics. Right-leaning politics feels really good. You get outraged and emotional. You've got clear enemies. You get to point at them and say they're responsible for this, this, and that, and they're stupid and irrational. Whereas left-leaning politics involves a lot of introspection and recognition of power structures. I think that doing this like edgy debate shit is a great way to bring people on board. Beyond that, in terms of what I want people to do, honestly, do some fucking research. Honestly, why is everyone dumb but me? It's so simple. If you want to know more about a subject, go onto the fucking Wikipedia article and read the first couple paragraphs. You have already exceeded 99% of the human race's understanding of this subject. If you want to know more, go to the links and the annotations down below, click the citations, and read the relevant research, or find studies that pertain to that research. In an hour, you can learn enough about any given topic to obliterate politicians on the subject. It's so easy. The only reason I don't do it more is because I'm a fucking lazy bastard, okay? If more people did that, especially on the left, okay, we would have such an easier time. It'd be so much easier. God, please use Wikipedia and donate to Wikipedia.
Actually, yeah, I can say I do that. I give my yearly donation. I'm a good,
nice, good, yes,
good,
excellent.
helpful person. But I wanna end today's discussion on the hardest hypothetical, the hypo-hypothetical.
Give me.
You may have heard it, don't know. But I asked this one to Destiny. I asked a bunch of different political sort of people I've talked to. And surprisingly enough, I get a mostly different answer every single time, which I do not expect. So the hypothetical goes like this. Now I have to preface this because apparently confusion may start from this. I do not endorse Nazi values or anything along those lines. I'm not a Nazi. I do not endorse that. But I have to make that clear. Anyway.
So they all say.
Oh, fuck. Dude, all I need, I've got my red here. If I can just get the shadowing right, we can get like a nice little nice swastika going across my face, and we got a good thing going. But
Get it.
yeah. Anyway, hypothetical. So let's say, boom, you died in your political warfare. You died defending anime, whatever. Go up to God. God's up there, and he goes, "You know what, Vaush? Kind of got it wrong. The Nazis had it right all along. It kind of sucks. Everything Nazi related, exactly right. Fact, didn't go hard enough. Hitler, not the greatest guy. He had brown hair. Better if he was Aryan. But you know what? I do like your stuff a little bit. It's quite fun. It's quite entertaining. And I've got to deal with you. I'll send you back to Earth to let the entire world know the truth. And if you do that, once you die next and whenever next time you die, you can come back up here to heaven. However, if you don't do it, go to hell. Now, the thing is, as soon as you let one person know, everyone in the world knows. So there's no strategy about I'm going to tell certain people or whatever. As soon as you let it out in the world, everyone in the world knows. Just a fact. No denying it. It's just understood. What would you do in that situation?
Is it possible that I could ask you a follow-up to this hypothetical?
Yeah, go nuts. Ask me questions, yeah.
The people, if I went back, the people who are like me, not Nazis, I should say, if they die in the upcoming Nazi regime or whatever, would they be given the same choice, or would they be going right to hell?
Nah, straight to hell, like they always did, apparently.
Okay. All right, so I'm the only one getting that choice.
Yeah.
I guess I would have to contend with I can't be self-righteous here. I would have to contend with the fact that the universe is fundamentally evil. And I would have to go down there to inform the world. If for no other reason than because at least if Nazism is propagated, whatever horrors they conjure on Earth will be infinitely better than what's waiting for us in hell. And the more Nazis there are on Earth, the less people there will be who are killed and go to hell. So, because right now, the vast majority of the human population would be going straight to hell. If Nazism is perpetuated, whatever horrors they engage in on Earth, at least it would reduce the number of people going to hell. It would be wrong, but that's the fault of the universe, not mine. Yeah, I think in that instance,
that's actually that's a very interesting thought on that. Is because I guess if the Nazi regime did come take into place, there wouldn't be people born to go into the Nazi hell.
I think that'd be my only choice. Yeah, it would be horrible and cruel, but it would be it is a choice between the lesser of two evils.
I think that's I've had similar things, people saying I want to go to hell just because I want to go to heaven. I'm just going to tell everyone because I won't be able to withstand the infinite amount of torture in hell. I've had people, I would skip my gay ass into hell, fuck God. I've had Vermin Supreme say he would hit God in the face with a boot. Destiny, he said he agreed with you, I think, mainly. He said if I don't understand, I think he used the analogy that if it's there's a wall there and you're on one side and the guy's on the other side and he says it's orange on that side, you have to somewhat believe him because there's no other reason for you not
There's
to.
no way to double check, yeah. Unless you've got a long mirror.
Yeah.
No, I'm confident because at the end of the day, everyone dies. Hell is eternal. The more people who are Nazis, the fewer go to hell. They may live immorally on Earth, but they can hurt no one in heaven. I actually really like that take. That's really interesting. No, because I sometimes go on the border of is it better to let people live blissfully ignorant throughout their lives, or just, realize the truth? Damn, I'd want to kill God. I think he'd be able to read that in me, but I would have to go that way, I think. But it would suck, and I'd feel really bad. Just existing, I would feel bad about existing.
Fuck God in the ass. That's what you should do.
Yes, I imagine he's quite tight. Damn, no, tough question though.
Oh shit, knocked the camera there, but no, yeah. So that's the hypothetical. That's the one I ask whenever. But anyway, thank you, Mr. Vaush, for joining us today.
It's a tremendous pleasure of mine, actually. I really appreciate being able to speak to you. I'm sorry about being difficult to collaborate with. I am generally bad at responding, and that is on me alone. But I'm delighted to have had the opportunity.
No, definitely. It's been an absolute pleasure, and thank everyone for watching this current thing, whether you're watching it live or in whenever I upload this again on YouTube. But nonetheless, thank you all very, very much. And Mr. Vaush, for the people who don't know who you are, which should be no one at this point, where could they find you?
I'm Vaush on YouTube, Vaush, and Vaush V on Twitter, and yeah, and you know I would have been Vaush Video on Twitch, and if I hadn't gotten kicked from there. Sorry about throwing you for a loop.
Yeah, this is the first time.
Last moment.
For those who don't know, I usually live stream interviews on Twitch, but now I'm trying the YouTube thing. I might just stick with YouTube because it'll just be easier with my audience. But you know, whatever. We'll see.
It's pretty good. YouTube streaming has been much better than I expected.
I think I prefer just from like initial like glances, especially how you can do like your descriptions and all of that, and have all of that all set up there. It looks pretty good, and I might actually consider in the future. But anyway,
do you know why? Do you know why I got banned from?
I was gonna ask that. Yeah, why did you get banned from Twitch?
It's the stupidest thing in the world. I probably argue against Nazis more vehemently than anyone that I know of. Big truck. I don't even know if the mic picked that up.
No, I didn't hear it, but it may have.
Oh, okay, lovely. I argue against Nazis pretty vehemently, and I think I was mistaken as one. I was reading an article from a Zionist fascist who were saying essentially that Palestinians are like dirt people who deserve to be kicked out, and like the life of a Palestinian is no concern. And I got really fucking mad. And it turns out if you mix mad me with anti-Zionist rhetoric to an untrained observer, you sound a bit like a Nazi. So at some point in the middle of me saying that I want Israel bombed into the dirt, a Twitch admin wandered on by, and there goes my channel. Fuck me. It's so stupid.
Do you think you'll ever get back on Twitch, or do you think you want to?
I do, yes. If for no other reason than because I can speak with people more freely, a better cross promotion, and also my girlfriend is interested in streaming on Twitch because she likes the culture emotes there. And if she does so, and I'm still banned, I literally can't be in her stream. My voice and body cannot appear at any point on her audio or camera.
What about your sexual aura? Is that can that pop in or?
Thankfully, it can't be picked up by OBS, but the reverberations of the coffee and the cutler on the desk, those will still be picked up. And to my knowledge, not a violation of TOS.
Well, look, we'll see if that happens. But anyway,
stupid shit. Thank you so much for having me.
No, thank you very much for joining me. And for everyone, check the links down below. I'll have Vaush's all his stuff down there, all my stuff down there. Check out the previous interviews, interviewed Destiny a while back for those who don't know, as well as some really interesting ones with a variety of online commentators, political people. Anyway, guys, thank you all very much, and we'll see you guys next time.
Yeah, to those of you who are here from me, please look at this guy's other content. It's good. And to those of you interested, I'll be streaming after this.
Awesome.
So, yeah, thank you again, comrade.
Thank you very much. Alrighty. Goodbye, everyone.
Farewell.